When you disrespect the wrong person, the consequences can ripple far beyond what you ever imagined. The receptionist at Darrow Creative Group was about to learn that lesson the hard way. There's something about flying through the night that pulls your thoughts inward. You sit there, staring out of a dark window that reflects more of yourself than the sky outside. That's where Monica Ellison was, suspended in that in-between space of quiet reflection and absolute nothingness. Her red-eye flight was descending over Tulsa, and though her body was weary, this wasn't a tiredness that sleep could solve. It was the kind of exhaustion that came from always needing to be sharp, always expected to lead, always being the one making the calls, with eyes constantly watching to see if this time you'd falter. But today wasn't about faltering. Today was about opportunity. Monica's company, Blue Slate Systems, had spent the last 5 years quietly dominating the automation industry. No outside investors, no board breathing down her neck, just sharp strategy, clean code, and relentless drive. She had built something real, and now she was ready to grow it. The marketing firm she was visiting this morning had been on her radar for months. Small, clever, slightly chaotic, but talented, undervalued, vulnerable, perfect. She hadn't warned them she was coming. Monica believed in walking in unannounced. People show their truest selves when they think you're a nobody. No slideshow or investor pitch could reveal as much as a single moment of unguarded behavior. It was just after 7:30 a.m. when she stepped out of her Uber in front of Darrow Creative Group. The sun was only just starting to rise, casting long shadows down the quiet streets of downtown Tulsa. She stood in front of the sleek glass building, tucked into a corner near Boston Avenue. Most of the offices were still dark. She adjusted her hoodie, the Blue Slate logo, a small white dot within a square stitched over her chest, faded jeans worn in Converse, and a carry-on slung over her shoulder. She looked more like a tired coder on her way to a weekend hackathon than a CEO ready to write a $6 million check. But appearances didn't matter to Monica. Intentions did. The lobby greeted her with polished marble floors, soft jazz oozing from hidden speakers, and expensive art that screamed, "We're different," a little too loudly. But what really caught her eye was the young woman behind the reception desk, mid-20s, ponytail, brightly painted nails, her face lit only by her phone screen as she scrolled without a care in the world. Monica approached the desk and waited. Silence, not even a glance. "Good morning," Monica said, her voice calm but clear. "I'm here to see—" "Deliveries go around back," the receptionist cut her off flatly, eyes still on her phone. Monica blinked. "Sorry?" "You're early anyway," the woman continued, still scrolling. "They don't take walk-ins." Monica kept her tone level. "I'm not here for an interview. I have a meeting." That finally got her to look up. Just for a second. A quick glance. Hoodie, sneakers, black woman. The receptionist scoffed lightly. A dismissive smirk flickered across her face. "A meeting? Right." Monica didn't flinch, didn't argue. She simply stood there in silence, the kind that makes people shift uncomfortably. The receptionist, sensing she may have overstepped, waved her hand. "Look, I don't know who you think you're here to see, but you can't just be up here. You need to leave." Monica could have said her name, could have flashed her business card, could have even pulled rank. She didn't. She turned around and walked out without another word. To the receptionist, it was just a minor inconvenience. Another random person to brush off. Her name was Taryn. She slid her AirPods back in and returned to her scrolling. Just another eager type, she figured, maybe selling candles or pitching some doomed app idea. She wasn't trying to be rude, she told herself, just doing her job. Outside, Monica stood for a moment. Cars slid past. The morning breeze tugged at her hoodie. She checked the time, not from stress, but habit. 7:42 a.m. Still early. She wasn't angry, maybe a little disappointed, But mostly she was reminded of something her grandfather once told her as a child trying to sell bookmarks door to door in Fort Worth. You can tell everything about a company by how they treat someone who can't do anything for them. She tucked her phone back into her pocket and opened the Uber app again. There were always other options. Upstairs on the 14th floor, the Darrow creative team was beginning to arrive. Kenji Morris, the founder and head strategist, stepped out of the elevator, green smoothie in hand, talking to his assistant. "Did Monica Ellison confirm?" he asked, adjusting his cuffs. "She said she'd be here sometime this morning. No set time," the assistant replied. "All right, let me know the moment she walks in. This could change everything." He wasn't wrong. Their agency was unraveling. Revenues had dropped for 6 straight quarters. Clients were vanishing. Internally, the team was splintered. Too many egos, not enough direction. Monica's involvement could bring more than just capital. It could bring stability, prestige, and the kind of respect Blue Slate commanded across the tech world. By 8:15, the full leadership team was gathered. Decks ready, coffee steaming. Kenji practiced his opening lines in his head. Then his assistant stuck her head into the room. "She's not here." "What do you mean? She hasn't checked in at the front desk?" "I called. Taryn says no one's come in." Kenji went down himself. "Taryn, did anyone come in earlier? Black woman? Hoodie? Carry-on bag?" Taryn squinted. "Yeah, I sent her to the back. She didn't say anything about a meeting." Kenji's face went pale. "Did she give you a name?" "Nope. She looked like, delivery, or some tech person thinking they can just walk in." Kenji said nothing. In the elevator, his heart pounded. His hands were slick with sweat. He knew exactly what had just happened, and how devastating it was. At 8:52 a.m., while the Darrow team panicked upstairs, Monica sat calmly in a sleek corner office 10 blocks away. Same city, same opportunity. Different firm, different energy. Sparrow plus Slate, one of Darrow's biggest competitors. They greeted her with warmth. They knew her name. They offered her breakfast. They didn't ask her to prove her worth. Back at Darrow, silence filled the conference room. No jokes, no chatter, just dread. Kenji stood motionless at the head of the table, his carefully prepared notes now useless. Andre, head of business development, leaned back in his chair. "This isn't about confirmation. Someone downstairs screwed up." Shelby, their brand director, narrowed her eyes. "She didn't recognize her. Told her to go around back?" Shelby slammed her laptop shut. "If someone treated me like that, I wouldn't come back either." Monica sat across from Derek Shaw, the founder of Sparrow plus Slate. "So what made you change your mind?" he asked. She smiled softly. "Let's just say someone reminded me how much first impressions matter." He nodded. She liked Derek. He listened. His team welcomed her. And that, more than anything, meant everything. Back at Darrow, Kenji sat alone in his office. Blinds closed, laptop open. But none of it mattered anymore. In the lobby, Taryn was still scrolling, completely unaware that her 2-sentence dismissal had just cost them everything. It wasn't just one bad decision. It was something deeper, something that had been building for years. Monica Ellison hadn't always been the successful CEO she was now. There was a time not too long ago when she was just another name on a list, another applicant, another quiet voice in a room full of louder ones. Back in 2009, Monica was living in a tiny apartment in Topeka, Kansas, working 2 jobs, one at a grocery store and another cleaning offices on weekends. Every night she stayed up teaching herself how to code on an old cracked laptop she had bought from a pawn shop. No one handed her anything. She taught herself by building messy websites for local businesses, websites with buttons that barely worked. But each project got a little better, cleaner. She started picking up freelance jobs, staying up late reading startup forums like they were her Bible. What others called obsession, Monica called survival. Her first big break came in 2013 when she landed a junior developer job at a company in Wichita. They paid her $38,000 a year, and she felt like she'd made it. But even then, it was clear that, as a black woman without an Ivy League degree, she had to work twice as hard just to be seen. There were countless times she walked into client meetings only to be mistaken for the assistant or ignored altogether. She would introduce herself, only to have people look right past her. But she didn't complain. She watched, learned, and kept track of every time she was dismissed or disrespected. She kept a list on her phone, not as a way to fuel anger, but as a reminder of what she never wanted to become if she ever had a seat at the table. In 2016, she launched Blue Slate Systems from a co-working space in Albuquerque, New Mexico. No funding, no mentors, just an idea to create automation tools small businesses could actually afford. People didn't take her seriously at first until they had to. Within 3 years, over 12,000 companies were using her tools. Quiet growth, no fluff, just results. She never forgot how it felt to be ignored, which is why what happened in that Tulsa lobby didn't surprise her. Monica wasn't angry. She was disappointed. Disappointed because the mistake wasn't made by someone who didn't know better. It was made by someone who had the chance to see her for who she was and chose not to. Deep down, what hurt wasn't the disrespect itself. It was the fact that this pattern still existed. That same automatic disregard she'd faced years ago was still happening. She walked into that building ready to give Daryl Creative a second chance, but they greeted her with indifference. Monica didn't want pity. She didn't even need the deal, but she believed in rewarding people who treated others right, even when they didn't know who was watching. That belief is what led her to Derek Shaw's office that morning. Derek didn't waste time. He offered her coffee, asked real questions, and didn't try to sell her big dreams. He just told her the truth about where they were, what they needed, and what they could do together. That's what Monica respected. By 10:20 a.m., they were already discussing numbers. Meanwhile, back at Daryl Creative, Kenji was rewriting his pitch, not for Monica, but to his board, trying to buy time, trying to explain what couldn't be undone. But time wasn't on his side. Monica had made her decision, and by noon, the contract was already in draft. She didn't play games. She moved quickly when her gut told her something was right. Everything about Sparrow plus Slate felt right. The numbers weren't as flashy as Daryl's, but the energy was different, fresh, hungry, real. Derek Shaw was still stunned as he looked over the outline of Monica's offer. "Wait," he said slowly. "You're serious?" Monica looked up from her tea. "You said you wanted to scale." "I do. I just didn't think it would happen today," he replied. She shrugged. "Timing isn't always convenient, but it's usually honest." Her offer was simple: full acquisition of his company with room for him and his core team to stay on and lead their new division. No layoffs, no drama, just growth with purpose. The only thing she asked in return was respect. For people, for process, and for potential, no matter what form it came in. Derek signed the letter of intent an hour later. Across town, Kenji had been calling everyone he knew, trying to reach Monica. He even sent her a direct message on LinkedIn, which he hadn't used in months. Still no response. At 1:30 p.m., Shelby knocked on Kenji's office door, holding her phone. "You need to see this," she said, turning the screen toward him. It was a tweet from Monica. "Treat everyone like they own the place." Underneath was a photo of the skyline from Sparrow plus Slate's conference room. No tags, no drama, just a quiet flex. Kenji stared at the tweet for a long time. It wasn't just a missed meeting anymore. It was a message, and everyone in the industry would see it. By 3 p.m., rumors started flying. Clients pulled back. At first, it was a few postponed campaigns, but soon bigger accounts suspended their contracts. Nobody mentioned Monica's name, but everyone heard about what had happened. In the digital world, reputations are fragile. One careless mistake, and everyone watches as it shatters. Meanwhile, at Daryl Creative, Taryn had no idea she was at the center of it all until Shelby pulled her into a meeting. "You know the woman you brushed off this morning?" Shelby asked. "Yeah, why?" Taryn replied. "That was Monica Ellison." Taryn's face turned pale. She tried to laugh it off at first, saying it wasn't personal, but Shelby wasn't having it. "You don't get to not know, not when your job is to see people." Back in her office, Monica finished her last meeting of the day. The sun was starting to set, casting long shadows on the wall. She had made her decision. The paperwork was moving forward. Daryl Creative was no longer her concern, not because she was seeking revenge, but because it was never about them. It was about staying true to what had made her successful in the first place, knowing her worth and walking away when others didn't. While Monica had already moved on, Daryl Creative was about to learn just how costly a small moment of disrespect could be. 2 weeks later, cracks at Daryl Creative were impossible to hide. Clients started pulling back, slowly at first, but then more and more. Kenji scrambled to try and hold the team together. He called emergency meetings, hired consultants, even offered Taryn a chance to apologize directly, but it was too late. Monica never responded. Not to his calls, emails, or even when he showed up at a conference hoping to catch her in person. She wasn't there, because Monica didn't need to say anything. Her silence was louder than any press release. At Sparrow Plus Slate, the energy was different. The team was growing. Monica's face appeared in trade articles with headlines like, "Blue Slate expands with unexpected acquisition." No one at her new office needed a reminder to treat people right. It was just understood. Back at Daryl Creative, Taryn's desk sat empty. She stopped showing up. No emails, no goodbyes. She disappeared. HR tried to reach her, but she was done. The company went through even more layoffs, and within 6 months, Daryl Creative was no longer around. A private equity firm bought the remnants and folded them into a bland digital consultancy. The name didn't survive, and neither did the culture. Monica, however, didn't celebrate. She didn't throw shade or make a big deal out of it. She just kept building. One morning during a podcast interview, the host asked if she ever regretted not giving Daryl a second chance. Monica paused, then smiled. "You don't get a second chance to show people basic respect," she said. "It's not about the deal. It's about the moment. The little moment when someone has a choice to be decent and they don't take it. I don't need apologies. I just pay attention." She let the words sit for a moment before adding, "That's the real test of a company's values. Not their website, not their branding, just how they treat people when they think no one's watching." It wasn't bitterness, it was clarity. Monica never needed revenge. She had something far more powerful, options. And sometimes the quietest walk away leaves the loudest echo. Here's the truth. We all have moments when we underestimate someone. Maybe it's because of how they look, how they talk, or what they're wearing. But you never know who's on the other side of that front desk or that elevator ride. Respect costs nothing, but disrespect can cost everything. So treat people right, even when you think it won't matter. Because it always does. If this story made you stop and think, share it. You never know who might need this reminder.